The film opens in Will's house, a war veteran who is pleading with the state to assist him with his wife's operation. The insurance won't cover Amy's surgery because it is classified as an experimental treatment. No matter how much he tries, nobody helps Will with the amount of money he needs, which is $230,000. In the meantime, a female rescuer named Cam is rushing to an incident along with her fellow rescuer and ambulance driver, Scott. A little girl has been impaled with a piece of steel during a car accident, and Cam has to do whatever she can to keep her alive until they take the girl to the hospital. Back at Will's house, he lies to his wife and says he is having a job interview in about an hour. However, he visits his adoptive brother Danny, a fact that he conceals from his wife because Danny is a part-time criminal. Will tells his brother about Amy's condition and then asks him for a loan. Danny claims he does not have that kind of money right now because he invested everything in an upcoming operation. Danny's guys interrupt them and they notify him they have to move within the next 5 minutes. Danny tells Will he can give him much more money than he asked, and he invites him to participate in this operation. Specifically, they are going to hit the city's central bank and steal $32 million. However, they have to be quick about it because the money will be moved from the bank tonight. Will does not want to get involved in any kind of criminal activity, but Danny says he did serve his country and got nothing out of it. It is now time to do something for his family. At the same time, 2 policemen are making a turn to go to the central bank because one of them, Zach, wants to ask out a young woman that works there. Danny and his crew arrive in the bank's garage with a delivery truck, and they soon spread out. Outside the bank, there's another crew stalking Danny. They ask their boss if they should attack, but he tells them to wait until the robbery has been carried out. The police car arrives outside the bank as well, and now Zach tries to go inside. However, the bank is closed. Danny pretends to be the manager and goes to speak to the officer, so he does not suspect anything. Zach insists he wants to open a savings account, so Danny lets him in because he can't get rid of him. Zach walks to the counter where the girl he likes works and asks her out on a date. Suddenly, he realizes something is off, but when he turns around, Danny and Will hold him at gunpoint. Just outside the bank, the crew's driver stumbles upon Zach's partner, who has no idea what is going on. He even helps the bad guy fix the truck. Danny and his men steal the money from the bank, but Zach's partner sees them holding him hostage and tries to stop them. Danny's guys shoot at him, but then a heavy police force arrives, and things get tight. Danny's men are killed while he and Will rush into the parking lot, having Zach with them. Zach jumps on Danny when he finds an opening, but the confrontation ends with him being shot by Will. Will instantly regrets what he did, but Danny convinces him they have to go because Zach does not look good, and there is nothing more they can do for him. The 2 brothers go outside, but they realize they are being cornered. While they go back inside, Cam and Scott arrive with the ambulance because they have been notified there is an injured person. Zach's partner, Mark, helps them get the man into the ambulance and they are ready to go. However, Danny and Will have been battling against the cops, and they see a way out when they notice the ambulance. Danny takes Scott out and has Will drive while he holds Cam at gunpoint. The police stop the vehicle for a control, but Danny forces Cam to cover for them while he hides, so they manage to escape. Moments later, Mark finds Scott, who now tells him that the ambulance got hijacked and warns the other officers about it. Soon, Mark meets with a high-ranked police officer, and it now becomes clear that the people that were stalking Danny were actually agents from MI6. Meanwhile, Will drives the ambulance into an alleyway because a helicopter is flying above them, and he does not want to risk being seen. While he and Danny discuss what would be the best course of action, Cam attacks them with a fire extinguisher and tries to run. However, Danny aims at her with his rifle and makes her stop. Additionally, Zach is having some trouble keeping alive, and Cam runs back to the ambulance to help him. At the same time, the FBI is notified about the incident, and a mobile unit helps the police spot the ambulance, which is now on the move again. Danny has pressured Will to drive fast until they reach their escape car, which is too far to approach on foot. Captain Monroe from MI6 is pursuing the ambulance from above. He wants his officers to find a way to communicate with the ambulance so they can negotiate. Meanwhile, Will is driving wild as Cam requests Danny to help her out on the back. Zach is in a bad condition, and she needs help handling him. While Danny goes on the back to help her, Will has to evade several police vehicles and make the best out of his driving skills. The police try to intercept him at various locations, but he is able to escape. After Danny and Cam give Zach's heart a shock to bring him back to life, Will stops the ambulance inches before they launch off a dead end. However, the police cars make that mistake, and they fly off the dead end, which gives Will enough space to back off and drive away. Now, Will remembers a trick that terrorists performed in Afghanistan when they were being chased in a car. They used to drive their car under a bridge, and then 5 same cars came out of that bridge. Danny likes that idea and calls a guy he knows Poppy. He tells Poppy that he has $16 million in his possession, and he will pay him the half if he steals a bunch of ambulances and unleashes them in the streets. While Poppy agrees, Cam says that Zach is losing a lot of blood. Will's blood type is compatible with Zach's, so they can perform a transfusion. Then, Monroe communicates with the ambulance and tries to reason with Danny, but the latter is not in a mood for a talk. He only tells Monroe to take his helicopters away and ends the communication. Mark now appears behind the ambulance in a police car, dedicated to saving his friend. Will can't lose him, so Danny decides to take a shot. However, Cam jumps on him and does not allow him to shoot at Mark. Danny snaps at her and threatens that she will be killed if she does not behave. Then he grabs her to use her as leverage in order to make the police stand down. The plan works, and now a guy from the FBI approaches Monroe, saying that he went to college with Danny in the past. Meanwhile, Zach is losing more blood because he has a second wound on his abdomen. Danny opens Cam's phone and calls a doctor from her contacts, who in turn calls 2 trauma surgeons that will guide Cam through an abdomen operation. Will tells Danny to take the wheel because he has done this before, and he can help Cam. The FBI guy calls Danny, his old friend, and tries to convince him to leave the cop and the nurse go. However, Danny is not going to stop for anybody. Will yells at Danny to slow down a bit because Cam has literally put her hand in Zach's spleen. At some point, Zach wakes up in a panicked state, so Will has to knock him out again for Cam to continue the operation. The battery on the laptop runs out, and now Cam has to continue the operation without the help of the doctors. Despite that setback, Cam manages to complete the surgery and stabilize Zach. However, Monroe communicates with one of the doctors, who tells him that it was a difficult operation. He assumes that Zach will probably be dead by now, and that infuriates Monroe, who wants to go all in against the ambulance. Monroe sets up a perimeter and has his snipers ready to shoot. The FBI agent, Clark, calls Zach's phone and Cam picks up. Clark warns her they will shoot at them, and she should stay down. Cam informs Clark about Zach being alive, and then she warns Danny and Will about the snipers. That attempt drives Danny crazy, and he now shoots at Cam while he is in an open communication with Monroe. Will now starts fighting with Danny because he is going insane. Thankfully, Cam is okay, and she texts Clark that Danny is preparing some kind of interception on the way. Clark gives Cam a call and tells her to try and take Will on her side. She needs to talk some sense into him, as he is not a criminal. Cam tries to talk to him when she gets the chance, but Will can't give up on his brother, no matter how dangerous he is. Soon, the ambulance makes it under a bridge, but Monroe sends 2 helicopters after them. Danny opens fire against them, and Will manages to drive away once more. Then, they meet with Poppy's men, and one of them starts painting the ambulance in green color. Danny tells Will that he can go now, but Will refuses to let his brother alone into this mess. Danny sends Poppy's men out driving various ambulance vehicles. One of them is arrested, while another one sends the vehicle towards the police and detonates the explosives. Mark sees the man and runs after him, while another car loaded with a machine gun approaches the police perimeter and opens fire. While Monroe and some of his men have been injured, Mark catches the man, who also happens to be Poppy's son, and accidentally kills him with his own gun. The ambulance now makes it to Poppy's garage. Danny gives the man his money, but Poppy is not in the best shape because he just lost his son. After some negotiations, Poppy agrees to keep half of the money like they initially agreed. However, he wants to keep the cop and the nurse because they have seen too much of his business. Will refuses to leave them behind, and he gets caught up in an argument with Danny. Poppy clarifies they are not leaving this place with the cop and the nurse, so Danny argues even more with Will. However, that was just an act, so now Danny and Will turn against Poppy's men. Will runs back to the ambulance, but Cam accidentally shoots him because she thinks he was one of Poppy's guys. Being worried about his brother, Danny drives the ambulance straight to the hospital. Cam tries everything she can in order to keep Will alive, but he is in a bad condition. Danny now finds a pistol in the ambulance and figures out that Cam shot Will. He holds her at gunpoint and threatens to kill her on live television. Danny threatens the police to take a step back. In a frenzy, he opens the doors of the ambulance to burst out like a cowboy. But Will shoots him from behind because he can't allow him to harm Cam. Danny falls on the ground and Will is arrested. Cam approaches Will to give him some courage by informing him that his wife is here. After Will is taken away, Cam walks near Amy and lets her know that her husband saved her. After asking her to try to forgive Will, she leaves a bag full of money right next to her feet and walks away. Finally, when Zach wakes up, he is interrogated by the police and says that Will saved his life.